Passage 10. Gentlemen of the jury, James Smith, the plaintiff in this case, brought this action of trespass against George Brown for the purpose of recovering damages which he alleged he sustained on May 31, 1915 by reason of a collision with the car of the defendant. Due to the defendant's negligence, para. You have heard the counsel speak frequently of the negligence of the defendant. The burden is upon the plaintiff in this case, as in all cases of this character, to satisfy you by the weight of the testimony or the preponderance of the evidence of the negligence of the defendant that caused the injury. Otherwise, the plaintiff cannot recover. The mere fact that there was an accident and that the plaintiff was injured does not entitle the plaintiff to a recovery unless he satisfies you that the injury was the result of the defendant's negligence. Para. Negligence is the want of care according to the circumstances of the case. This is probably as comprehensive a definition of negligence as can be given because it applies to all cases, and the question of negligence in any given case depends upon the circumstances existing at the time, the place where the accident happened, and everything that may be taken into consideration in determining the question of negligence. Para. There is another well established rule in cases of this kind, and that is that the plaintiff cannot recover if the guilty of negligence that contributed to the accident, even if the defendant is also guilty of negligence. Para. It is claimed on the part of the plaintiff in this case that the injuries that he sustained were due to the negligence of the defendant in the operating of his car on the evening of the 31st day of May 1915. Para. This case is so clearly a question of fact that there is little that the court can do except to submit the facts to the jury and have then determine what those facts actually establish. It is not the duty of the court to take up the testimony of each and every witness and undertake to say to a jury what that witness has testified to, and to undertake to convey to the jury an idea of what the testimony as a whole actually establishes in the case, because it is not the province of the court to do that. It is the province of the jury to determine complicated and conflicting questions of fact, and it is the duty of the court to give the jury the law of the case. Therefore, if I allude in any way to the facts of the case, what I say is not in any way to control you as to what the evidence actually is, because it is your duty to remember everything that every witness said in the case and to determine the case according to the testimony as a whole. Para. Generally speaking, the plaintiff in this case, Mr. Smith and Mr. Field, and their respective wives arrived in the city of Pittsburgh that evening between 5 and 6 o'clock. Stopping for a short time at the Pittsburgh Club on 8th Street, they left that club in the neighborhood of 6:30 o'clock in the evening. Mr. Field was the driver of the car and on the left of Mr. Field was Mrs. Smith. Directly behind Mr. Field and on the right side of the car sat the plaintiff in this case, Mr. Smith, and on the left sat Mrs. Field, the wife of the man who was driving the car. The top of the car was down at the time of the accident. Para. It is claimed on the part of the plaintiff that their car, just as they entered it, was standing something like 200 feet below the boulevard and on the right side of 8th Street as you come up toward the boulevard at a distance of probably 250 or 300 feet north of 5th Avenue, and that street is something like 30 feet wide in the roadway. It is admitted that the grade of 8th Street before you reach the boulevard is 3 feet to the 100, and after crossing the boulevard the grade of 8th Street as it continues north is 7 feet to the 100. I believe the grade of the boulevard to the right or east of 8th Street is something like 6 inches to the 100 feet. Para. It is claimed on the part of the plaintiff in this case and his witness that when they entered the car where it was parked and started on their way, they were traveling slowly from there up to the point where the accident happened, and I believe the plaintiff in this case and Mr. Field placed the speed of something like 10 or 12 miles an hour. They likewise claim that when they were traveling north on 8th Street, they were on the right side of 8th Street, 4 or 5 feet, whatever it was, from the curb, and that they maintained that distance from what would be the curb of 8th Street if it were extended across the boulevard up until the time when their car was struck by the brown car. Para. You have heard the testimony of the plaintiff and Mr. Field upon that question. You have heard the testimony of a number of witnesses called by the plaintiff in support of the theory or claim of the plaintiff that at the time the car in which the plaintiff was riding reached the point of the accident, the driver of that car was exercising reasonable and ordinary care in crossing that street, which it was his duty, of course, to do. It was the duty of and the obligation rested upon the plaintiff in this case when he approached that crossing to observe reasonable and ordinary care to avoid an accident on that street. And if he did not, and he was guilty of negligence that contributed to the accident, he cannot recover a verdict even if defendant was also guilty of negligence.